Ladies and gentlemen, it's 230th day of the full-scale Russian invasion, and 9th year of war. I'm Ihor Kyzym. On behalf of Mediacentre Ukraine, I would like to welcome all the journalists covering our fight for freedom. With us today we have Franak Viačorka, an advisor to Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. We're in touch with Franak as we want to discuss Belarus. Yesterday, the self-proclaimed president of Belarus, Lukashenko, had stated that Russia and Belarus had agreed to deploy a common regional contingent of forces. Let's ask Mr. Viačorka what it may imply. So what does it imply? Greetings. This contingent has been around for quite a long time, but it hasn't been actively deployed apart from the regular military exercises. What will it mean in practice? The presence of the Russian troops in Belarusian territory, they are now legalized. If earlier they needed to be doing continuous exercises to justify their presence in Belarusian territory, now under the disguise of this contingent, they will be there on a permanent basis. There'll be more of them. There'll be over 1,000 of them, maybe 2,000, maybe 10, we don't know for certain. And that the Belarusian infrastructure will be used increasingly intensively. This is used to detract the Ukrainian troops from the front line. Will it mean that the Russian troops will enter the war in the Ukrainian territory? I doubt it greatly. We don't have any information or any leads to this effect. To the contrary, the military leaders are trying to calm down the troops, saying that they will not be embroiled in the war, as the troops are very worried, seeing the successes of Ukraine, seeing the valiant struggle put up by the Ukrainian troops, and nobody wants to fight for Putin, even those who've been contracted by Lukashenko. We're hearing two most common versions interpreting the statement made by Lukashenko. The first is that it is a signal sent by Lukashenko towards Russia that we are involved in your war, as we are. And the second version, that this is a real warning that Belarus may transition to a new level of escalation and aggression towards Ukraine. So how would you assess the prospects of embroiling Belarus in a full-scale war? It is a fact that this is a demonstration of loyalty. Every day Lukashenko makes statements praising Putin, say that we are brothers and a common nation. He knows that Putin is entire lack of allies, as he's short of them. So at all the international forums and platforms, Lukashenko is backing Putin. Even Lukashenko delegation is called Russia Plus One. To talk about the involvement of the Belarusian military, it is quite unlikely. We don't have the troops nor the military hardware to fight with. A lot of hardware has already been handed over to the Russian Federation. All that could be put to use has already been put to use by the Russian army. There are few combat-capable troops. They can be up to 7,000 people. And these servicemen are not ready for an assault operation. Lukashenko has been investing in his personal guards, security service, but not in the army. So he shouldn't expect much support from the army, and the army isn't prepared for active combat. If we have any questions in the audience, please let me know. Please give me a sign. You're welcome. Please go ahead.
My name is Daniel Boffey. I'm from the Guardian newspaper. Is there active resistance within the general staff of the Belarusian army to getting involved further in the war?
Well, there's no active resistance. There can be no taking to the street, as people are arrested on a daily basis. The prisons are brimming full of officials and military, and the excuse for placing them isn't even known. Some military have changed side and have been able to cross the border with the EU and are collaborating with the cabinet of Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. But the number of those supporting the change and ready to organize a resistance is not known. We do have a plan called Victory. There are at least 200,000 people who are in the know, including the military, who will be given instructions on what they need to do to paralyze the system, to paralyze the Lukashenko state. We are counting on them. When Lukashenko demonstrates weakness, when Ukraine shows successes in their front, we'll have a chance to promote our plan, which will topple the government. More questions? I would add that yesterday, for the first time during this massive missile attack, when Ukraine counterattack of the missiles and drones, we saw the launches from Belarus for the first time, which can be a novelty in our defense, or the old new element in our defense. Mr. Viačorka, may I ask you the following question? How has the mobilization in the Russian Federation impacted the everyday life of the Belarusian people? So far, we are not seeing any signs of mobilization amongst the Belarus people. There's great fear amongst the young guys, as they don't want to fight and die for Putin or Lukashenko. All the public opinion surveys show that less than 4% support the involvement of the Belarusian army in the war. And if mobilization is organized, it would trigger a wave of protests and uprisings and sabotage. We think even the drafting centers are not too enthused about the idea and the war. But there's fear reigning in the country, the reigning fear of the massive repressions, as the massive arrests are those similar to the repressions of 2020, when everyday people were imprisoned. Now people are imprisoned for posting comments in the internet, for wearing blue and yellow stripes. There's a lot of complaints filed by neighbors against the neighbors, and people kept silent during the Stalinist terror and Nazi terror, and we know what made them keep quiet. It was the crippling fear, but it doesn't mean that the people accept the things as they are. And my last question to you, as far as we know, you are now located in Brussels, and you must be talking to representatives of the governments of other countries. When you ask about the stance of your team, the stance of Svetlana Tikhanovskaya on war in Ukraine, what do you say in response? The fate of Belarus hinges on the victory of Ukraine, and only Ukrainian victory will give us a chance to liberate Belarus from Putin and Lukashenko. And we, the Belarus and the entire world, we should do everything to help Ukraine win this war. We are not asking Ukraine nor the world to liberate us, but we are suggesting we act together. Yesterday, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya made an open address to President Zelensky, offering building a political alliance between the Ukrainian government and democratic Belarus. And this is the best time to do it, because for us, for Ukrainians and for Belarus people, we have a common enemy, we have a common fight, and we have to stand with each other. Yes, Belarus is now paralyzed. It is now under occupation, but there will become, we will break free, and we will play our role in the liberation. Franak Viačorka, advisor to the Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. Thank you for talking to us, and Живе Belarus, long live Belarus. Glory to Ukraine. At 2:10 p.m., we'll be talking to Andriy Damchenko, the spokesperson of the state bodyguards of Ukraine, and at 2:30 we'll have a briefing with Maxim Kozetsky, the governor of Lviv region, and Odessa, the Lviv city mayor.